How I became hostage by the police. There was a 80-day countdown. I didn't know what for, and I'm not going to discuss how I came across that number. I thought my dog was going to die. After I was somewhat mentally stable from my grandmother getting murdered, I was packing my clothes to go and see my dog before he dies because they did something to him too. I investigated into what was wrong with him, and the vet was also scratching his head wondering what happened. These perpetrators will kill animals or harm them. After being tortured for so long, I started looking for ways to painlessly kill myself, and the night I was doing it, the next day they get two giant lab rats that looked like their body was shutting down from rat poison and put it in my yard. My parents witnessed that. Back to the time frame where I was packing up my things and was looking forward to a peaceful trip up north. Around the time frame, my dad was getting influenced by another guy who was getting my dad hooked onto alcohol. There was a lot going on, and my dad runs his mouth, calls me a dumbass, and says stuff about my ex-girlfriend. At that time frame, the perpetrators were also trying to brainwash me and trick me into killing my dad. They were green lighting me. They literally were putting green lights or signs when I'm facing north at Mansfield Industrial Area. Basically, they know what's going on in my personal zone, and I think they were green lighting me to make me think it's all good. I'm good to kill my dad. They are giving me the green light to let me think I'll get away with it. They've tried tricks like that with me many times in several different ways. If I was some dumbass, I would fall for it, and forensics not crossing my mind. Anyways, that day my dad took it too far and I wasn't in the mood. I had a large shifter in my hand because I was getting my tools, and because my dad was being a smart ass and pissed me off. He's never seen me pissed off like that, and he got scared, especially having that shifter in my hand. I questioned him and explained to him one wrong answer and you'd be dead, and if I wanted to kill you, you'd be dead. My dad probably didn't understand me and went running next door with his mate guarding the front and back entrance with hardwood, and he called the police. The minute I see the police, I automatically think my life is in danger because all the police do is look me up and see I have a mental report built up over time by qualified doctors who use their qualifications for fraud, torture, and other really bad things that I won't detail. Basically, the police will take me to the mental hospital, and I've done my investigation and have been psychiatrically abused by nearly every doctor I see. Being near them is the last thing I want happening. These doctors are using treatment authority order on a sane person and locking them up for involuntary treatment using the Mental Health Act 2016. Trust me, they were doing bad things and I was fighting back. I wanted to record them for my protection and they wouldn't let me, and were lying to me, saying the police cannot come and visit me in the mental hospital. When I asked the criminal investigation branch investigator, he said we can come and see you anytime. These psychopaths go to extreme lengths to keep a hold on a sane person and then have them locked up in the nut house asking patients questions like, do you feel safe? I happened to tell them I don't feel safe around you, and they said, Melvin, it looks like you're not making any improvement, you need to stay here longer. So basically, when it involves Queensland Health and everything I've been through, I automatically feel like my life's in danger. I'm the kind of guy who's got a good threshold to pain and is mentally strong. I got tortured several different ways, and when I say tortured, I mean physically and mentally. One was through directed energy weapons, gang stalking, electronic harassment. They had me thinking if I didn't hurt myself, someone with no threshold to pain will get hurt. House 20 Valencia Street, the cowboy, was definitely involved in this. I tried reasoning with him in the beginning of my targeting and tried to show him information of what's happening, and he would turn the radio on loud. It came to a point I was hurting myself in front of him to show him this is no joke, and he would turn the lawnmower on to mask the sound from the new neighbors who moved next door to Cowboy that were not taking part in my targeting. I will explain Cowboy later. So anyways, the minute the police came to my house, I knew they were not going to listen to me and would just take me to the mental hospital just like every other time. I did what was the most natural thing to do when you feel like your life's in danger. I barricaded myself in my room. The police tried to lure me out, but I wouldn't fall for it. It came to a point things were starting to escalate. Remember, I was not the person who caused the escalation, I was the person moving out of home that day, and from previous experience dealing with the police in relations to the same situation and type of contact. Normally when police gets dispatched to a person who is on treatment authority, when at the scene there is a 99.9% chance they will try to make you look mentally unwell by freaking you out or look for reasons or jump on anything that makes you look bad or a threat to public when you are alone. If you have somebody defending you, then they can't take you for a mental health assessment unless they have a very good reason. Every time I see the police I freak out, not from the police but from where they are going to take me. How are they going to turn me into a vegetable? Carefully worded threats from the psychiatrist in charge of my freedom and basically psychiatric abuse. So because of the police not listening to the targeted individual over time, they are falsely detaining him and not correctly resolving the issue. So basically, once you're on the police services record as a citizen who's under treatment authority order, they won't listen to you, and the people involved in covertly harassing you know that, and all they have to do is call the police and lie. That is why the cowboy does all these weird, sick, messed up things, and I keep trying to reason with him. The cowboy has stopped doing it now since I put a 4K camera facing his direction. I could ignore it, however what I can hear through the voice to Skull V2K is pretty messed up, and then I see Cowboy finish the other half of what I've constructed from listening to the conversations or activities taking place through V2K. So I know he's in contact with these sick-minded people. I will detail all that in another video. I don't know if the cowboy followed my mum to the lifeline, but he was wearing the same clothes I used to wear when I was at a certain age. And I mean identical, and not just one but many. Back to the police trying to lure me out. I could see things were starting to escalate. I made my room dark and turned the heater on and kept moving around. The police officer was shitting herself. It was now at a point where there were over 8 police officers, and I was reading their body language and gestures, just laughing away at the situation. On the bus stop there was a poster saying, "If you're suicidal, call this number," while these perpetrators were trying to make me kill myself. All I need to know is their body camera was on, and the footage stays there for a very long time. Around the time frame I was training magpies, and I made good friends with a magpie which was more intelligent than the others. I noticed it was figuring me out and was the alpha, because after that magpie ate from my hands, then all the other magpies felt safe enough to eat from my hands. Every day it would come and say hi to me. Anyways, as I was surrounded by the police and the sexy blonde brunette officer was trying to lure me out, my bird happens to fly by and picks up on my distress signal and swoops her. As you can see, this shouldn't have escalated this far, but because of how things are laid out, from Queensland Health Mental Health Act 2016 all the way to the police getting a judge order to do something they may not agree with or like by the mental health court. So if you look at it from my perspective, I was moving out and was about to get away from all this problem. I was then prevented from moving out, and I made the decision to barricade myself because my life was in danger. This is how it looks. 1. The police isolate me from everyone who could hear me explaining myself or could be a witness. 2. I had a scissors to my neck and I could have nearly started stabbing my jugular vein. I was counting for it. I didn't want to die that day. I wanted to see my dog. 3. I'm on AC FOS forensic order. That means the police can also have access to doctor-patient confidential reports records. This is so when or if I kill myself, they can cover this up better. 4. They had this planned out from the beginning. That's why they were making false reports on me. I have seen my clinical report and it's written there. I tried to make a noose and hang myself, was noted down right in the beginning of my targeting. I know how I would kill myself if I had to, and it's not by hanging myself. So where are these reports coming from? I know I wouldn't say that to a doctor if I'm planning to get discharged as soon as possible. 5. If I killed myself, then the cover-up would be Melvin has had a history of mental illness and is known to be suicidal. 5. If I killed myself, then the cover-up would be Melvin has had a history of mental illness and is known to be suicidal. 6. If somebody was there to witness everything I'm going through, saying or done, then it's a different story. That is why everyone was separated. 7. They even prevented my phone from making calls. 8. This situation took over 10 hours. 9. During the 10 hours I tried to negotiate and let him take me to Mater Hospital because another police officer told me I do have those options. It was agreed between me, the police officer, and the guy who is qualified to deal with suicidal situations. He said to me he will get a picture of my dog. He didn't. It came to a point where the main roads were blocked. There was fire brigade and ambulance, and the specialist response group ended up coming. I wasn't going to give in. I did nothing wrong. I really had to chuck a piss, and there was a Coke bottle with a hole on the lid, so I had to improvise and sealed the hole with aluminium foil. At this point, that sexy blonde brunette has made it from outside the house to in the house directly across me. As I started pissing, they took a deep breath, and to me it looked like they were thinking this is going to take forever. During the 10-hour I tried to tell these police look up gang stalking, voice 2 skull V2K, microwave auditory effect, electronic harassment, but they didn't. The sexy blonde brunette tells me her boss is getting impatient. I felt like saying I don't break my rules, but if the day police force turned into police service SOS save our soul turned into shoot on sight. Why are every single police service officer and people higher up the ladder who must serve and protect law-abiding citizens turning a blind eye on this situation? I would like to get the audio recordings of the guy who put the CS grenade under the gap of my door, because right on sync I asked them, "What's that?" "Gas." And I get sprayed. I've received training for that before, so I got used to it within 40 seconds. I held my breath and went to smash the window with the scissors I had in my hands, and then realized I can just open it. My artwork got destroyed. It was called Love Heart in Dimensions. It was a complex yet simple kind of physical object. Other things happened too, but I'm going to leave the specialist response group out of it. 10th, the agreement was they will take me to a different hospital because Princess Alexandra Hospital doctors try to slowly kill me using antipsychotics. I will remember that. Ambulance staff greater than, "Now you're going to PA hospital." 11th, the guy who was trained to deal with suicidal situations comes and tells me, "I will get you a picture of your dog." 12, I'm a really nice guy who thinks outside the box. Now that I've learned the procedures and control measures that take place in a situation like that, I can now create that exact kind of environment and replace what I went through with someone else or your loved ones. If you can't feel it from my shoes is another way of saying it without looking like a Reed. Were the type that used to run home from school just to watch Judge Judy. I believe she also got hit by the directed energy weapon of some form. 13, police. Next time an US Army vassal parks up, I'm going to send him a Morse code signal explaining how they tried to keep my mouth shut when there could have been a potential threat to Donald Trump during his election from me. When I found out it's compulsory to RFID chip or implant or transplant, I can't remember and just wanted to confirm he doesn't have one on his head. That's a headshot. 14, I want the surveillance footage of the emergency department at PA hospital when the fumes of the CS grenade coming off my clothes. Every single person in the emergency department, from patients to nurses to admin, but most of all the amount of police that was inside the emergency department. 15, I do not have a criminal record. 16, I need everyone's help. 17, apart from me there are other people getting tortured too. 18, you won't understand how this feels. 19, imagine the whole time a sane person was falsely diagnosed as being schizophrenic. Fine, maybe he is schizophrenic but doesn't believe it. Then why are all these people ganging up on a mental person? How messed up is that? There's nothing wrong with a person, but because of the way they get targeted using V2K and because they aren't used to it or know what's going on, they will behave like a schizophrenic. It's like this: you video record a person drunk off his head and show it to a specialist psychiatrist working for Queensland Health and say he smokes marijuana and other drugs, leaving out alcohol, which is a drug also, and watch him imagine the shit out of their diagnosis. This is just the scratch of what I've come across. I can't walk away from it. I won't be able to live with myself. 20, when I got locked up in the mental hospital for 90 days, no leave, the first day I got in there they upgraded the cameras. Now I strictly say Queensland Health Mental Health Department only. The surgeons contaminated the surgery and there was a code yellow. Operation PA Hospital is a story of its own. I hope explaining everything like this reconstructs everything, occurrences and event that took place at that timeline.